Good morning. Happy Monday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. All right. Happy Monday. Coming off a very strong weekend. Very busy. Going to dig straight into today's Q&A. This is with Christian. Christian had a little bit of a neck issue that he wanted to discuss on the last Coffee and Coaches conference call. We're happy to do that on occasion, especially when it leads us into a really good discussion. So in this case, this brought us to some lower cervical mechanics. One of the things we need to understand about the cervical spine is that the mechanics throughout the cervical spine are not the same, even though they are often expressed as being the same, especially when they talk about rotations and side bends and things like that. And we don't talk about that. It's all rotation under these circumstances. It's just how is it going to rotate based on the shape of the facet joints, which is different between the upper and the lower cervical spine. So when I'm talking about upper, in this case, we're talking about like the C3-4 level compared to the C6-7 level. They are not the same. So we have to appreciate that fact because it is going to influence our decisions. So we break those mechanics down and we actually give Christian some suggestions and some strategy as to how to approach this to get this lower cervical spine to turn appropriately and to alleviate the symptoms. Got some feedback from him, and actually it's already better. So we are definitely on the right track. So thank you, Christian, for your question and leading us in this direction. By the way, go to the YouTube channel. There is a video already up there discussing some of these lower cervical mechanics that you might find helpful. Everybody have an outstanding Monday, and I will see you tomorrow.
Hey, good morning, Bill. How's it going?
Greetings. It is awesome.
Great. So my question today is a bit more selfish in nature. It has to do with something I've been going through past couple of weeks. I went to sleep great. I did a couple exercises, did some cross connects, but when I woke up, side bending my head to the left was extremely limited. So it was like a closing facet restriction. And I've done some things to try to improve that. I'd say I'm about 85% better. Awesome. When I woke up, I could barely turn my head to the left and I couldn't side bend at all to the left. That happened one time. And then I drove all the way up to Tennessee and back. And when I woke up the next morning, it was kind of back to that starting point. So I wanted to look a little bit of the cervical mechanics of, the opening and closing of the facets, how that relates to your model. And another thing that came to mind also is METs and how that relates to your model, the muscle
MET.
energy. Yeah, muscle energy techniques.
Oh, okay. What's not a muscle energy technique?
Well, I guess when I think of muscle, I guess everything's a muscle energy technique.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of one of those vague little things that they go, "Oh, this is special." It's not special.
Got it.
Okay, so let's just talk about the representation that you were dealing with first. Okay, number one, clearly you have to stay out of Tennessee because it's not good for your neck. When you said you were driving to Tennessee, where'd you drive from?
Florida. Mid-Florida or Orlando.
Oh, you're in Orlando? Okay. And that's a drive and a half there, dude. Okay.
It was too much.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So if you can't turn the lower cervical spine to the left, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the limitation. So you go, hurts. And people come in, they're really good about it too. They go, yeah, it's right there. Mm-hmm. It's the one finger test, So under that circumstance, the inability to turn in that direction. So you turn into it, you get a compressive strategy in that space. And again, that's why you can use one finger because all the pressure moves towards a very small area. Okay. So the inability to turn that way would be a lack of expansion. Where?
On the left posterior lower cervical. Yeah.
Left posterior lower cervical. Okay. Which would be related to another area.
Upper dorsal rostral.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Okay. So that area has to expand to have a space to turn into, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Okay. And so in the language that you were using, you were talking about, what was it, a closed facet or something?
Yeah, closing restriction. So
is that a Mulligan thing?
The closed restriction.
Is that Mulligan?
Yes, I guess
Something like
Mulligan
that.
does talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that would be the description, right? That would be what's going on, is that you have muscle activity that is creating a compressive strategy that is pushing that side into an IR representation. IR being down and forward in that direction. So everything's pushing you this way, and so you can't turn that way, right?
Exactly.
And so you create upper DR expansion, which gives you lower cervical ER, which allows you to turn your head then to the left in the lower cervical spine anyway.
Got it. And then I guess as we work our way up towards it, the mechanics are a little different when we get into side bending. I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens when we side bend and then get that restriction. I guess it would be a little bit higher up the chain with the side.
Right. Bend. So again, so the facets of the cervical spine, in school, and they teach you this little thingy here.
Yes.
They say that the facets are on this angle, and the side bends and the rotations are the same. You know that part?
Got it.
Ian, you're doing Fryet's laws, right? It's side bending and rotation to the same side in the cervical spine. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, they're not the same shape though.
Mm-hmm.
The facets are not the same shape, and it's like, so if you look at like C3-4 and you compare that to 6-7, the facets are not the same shape. They're, in fact, the concave to convex nature of those facets is actually different, which is why the lower cervical spine has to ER to create a rotation in that direction, and then the upper cervical spine is actually going to look a little bit different. It's going to be more of like, that's what you're calling a side bend. It's not a side bend. It's all rotations, but understand that the rotations created a little bit differently.
Got it.
However, you still have the compression on that side that's going to create the limitation. Okay. So what you're talking about is creating expansion from upper DR to lower cervical spine, and then moving up the cervical spine under that circumstance. Okay. So you still have to get expansion on that side. Otherwise, you will not be able to turn in that direction.